Diavolo vs Hit is a video that makes a lot of sense to me. They're both time skippers and both have an assassin type fighting style where they just go in for the one shot. And since I've been doing a lot of Dragon Ball content recently, I might as well just put this matchup up to good use. It's a video I planned on making for a really long time but never really did because all of my crossverse videos in the past didn't really do that well. But anyways, this video is in collaboration with NTR and I felt like I needed another Dragon Ball scaler to freshen up the channel. NTR will be doing the Dragon Ball scaling from now on, or at least in this video. Also, don't forget to join the Discord in the bio if you want to talk about this whole topic and situation. So I think it makes sense for us to just start with Diavolo's ability. Diavolo's ability is just time skip. What he does is he erases time. Well, at least he states he erases time, which essentially just creates a force field where only he is allowed to move in. But against popular beliefs, I don't actually think he does erase time fully, because we're able to see normal objects in the background that has a velocity rate, like Mista's bullets being able to move. There's nothing special about Mista's bullets themselves. They're simply normal bullets not made out of stand energy, so there shouldn't be an excuse. It's illogical to assume that time itself is being erased in the background, clearly, because of the Mista's bullets are able to move, which are just normal bullets, as said. But what I believe that he does is that he deletes the perception of time and everybody around him, because their movements are still being made in the time erasure. But it's more like they're unaware of time itself being erased and they're not really consciously acting on their own will. It's kind of like if they had an action, let's say like you're at the bottom of a flight of stairs and you proceed to walk up, you just wouldn't be aware of the fact that you are walking up the stairs themselves, but you've arrived at the top of the flight of the stairs. But inside of this erased time space, he's able to experience the full forecast that he's able to see from his epitaph. Epitaph is a precognition ability that allows him to just see the conclusion of events that are going to occur. He uses this a lot to pick a future that he most desires. We know that he's able to change the futures themselves depending on the steps that he's taken. So if he doesn't like the forecast that he sees in front of him, he just takes like a step to the left side. He takes like a step to the left side and he just chooses the future that is next. What he sees is just fated to happen. So him taking an additional step to the left or to the right is what can change fate, which is why he takes whatever future sight or forecast that suits him the most. Kind of like Risotto, how he's able to move and consistently see himself getting killed, but when he does find a future sight that favors him, he takes it. For strength, Diavolo is just stated to have like first class in power, first class in speed. In this data book right here, he's also just narratively implied to be the strongest character in his own part. We see this a lot in his fights where he does fight, it's just a straight one shot. Besides the feat in the flashback with Polnareff, where he pierces him in the eye, blinds him, then later bisects him on the second hit. It's also described in the data books themselves that he has destructive power, which kind of makes sense with every time he's ever thrown a punch, he just cleaves them in half. You see like a giant chunk of them just gone after every single hit. We know this is the case too because he's able to harm Mista through Spice Girl, like fully punch through Spice Girl to knock out Mista with a single punch. It is just something we don't really see within the JoJoverse itself. Like we see characters being able to overpower the other, but Diavolo is straight up just punching through everyone. In his fight with Bruno, he's able to completely just burst through his entire stomach in a single punch, and he was about to bisect him if it wasn't for the fact that Giorno just pulled up. He was also shown completely shattering Golden Experience's head in pieces, blowing it up like a watermelon with just one hit. As I mentioned earlier that the forecast himself is just showing what's fated to happen, Diavolo should logically just be strongest character in part 5 because he's able to even pierce through Golden Experience Requiem. GR is still getting smashed up by Diavolo in his epitaph. In his forecast, it was shown that GR was being completely pierced, including Giorno, by Diavolo's hit. With a single shot, he practically killed him. I mean, that's kind of all I have for AP. I mean, Diavolo he's just an antisocial character throughout the entire show. Mad insecure and never really walks outside. It's pretty much it for AP. So I'm just gonna move over to speed. In the same databook that states that he has first class in power, it also says that he does in speed. Whether or not this is including with the ability itself is all for interpretations. I'm just saying that Diavolo is naturally fast. The reason I'm making this assertion is because he's able to dodge Polnareff's strikes. He has to be fast enough to be able to dodge him to begin with, despite him having future sight. would be logical to assume that he's around relativistic to FTL speeds. Polnareff is able to dodge characters that are stated to be just light speed, and is able to move much faster than them. He's also able to reflect actual light. Despite Giorno being able to learn about the time skip trick that he did from Polnareff, he is still not fast enough to be able to react to Diavolo being lunged right behind him, and loses his arms because of that. Sadly, I don't got anything more to add for Diavolo. He just does nothing in the show. I mean, it took like what, 50 episodes for him to appear? So to conclude, relativistic to FTL speeds, possibly FTL speeds. I'm not even agreeing with the fact that he is. For AP, I don't know, like building level. And he's able to see into the future. He's able to time skip like 12 seconds. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna give it off to NTR now.
What's up guys, it's NTR here. Thanks again Forca for having me on this video. It's a pleasure to be here. And yes, it's true, I am currently a citizen of Australia. I'll be handling the hit scaling for this video, so let's not waste any time and skip straight to it. Heh, see what I did there? No? No takers? Alright, tough crowd. Goku and Beerus in Battle of Gods were generating so much energy from their clash that it was threatening to destroy the very macrocosm, which contains many separate spacelines such as the main universe and the cosmos, aka Otherworld, which is identified as a cosmos, which means universe. Goku then absorbs his power into his base and is able to stack his transformations on top of it and surpasses his previous power by many thousands of millions of times. Hit not only showed relativity to Goku in the Universe 6 vs Universe 7 arc, but even later showed relativity to an even more powerful version of Goku, who again has gained many Zenkai boosts on top of his previous power by thousands of millions of times within the Tournament of Power. Hit is then able to boss with a post-UI Omen 1 Goku fight Jiren. This is important because the power that he displayed in that fight is what was judged to be on the level of the God of Destruction, if not above. The level of the God of Destruction being stated to transcend dimensions. And for those who might believe that Jiren was massively holding back that power against Hit, the issue with this is that Hit can sense ki, so he'd be able to sense how powerful Jiren is, and would also then have to believe that his own attacks could compete with that level of power. Based on all this, Hit should scale to at least multiversal, to potentially 5D or higher, depending on how you want to interpret transcending dimensions here, whether you think it's going beyond dimensions as a whole or just going beyond the known limits of dimensions. Now for speed, there is a major consistency for characters in Dragon Ball Super having infinite speed. This starts off with Perfect Cell being stated to have an infinite battle power. It's stated by Vegeta that as one's power level increases, so does their speed. And I already made a short TikTok that actually goes over this concept, which will hopefully be linked in the bio of this video. Anyway, with that in mind, Cell's power level being infinite should also mean that his speed would also be infinite. And Cell having an infinite power level is massively consistent within the anime, as he stated multiple times have infinite power. People might counter this by saying the infinite power statements for Cell is just referencing that he has infinite energy. However, it specifically stated that Cell does not have infinite energy or stamina, which makes sense as he is not an infinite energy model like 17 or 18. Then we even have the feat of Goku and Pikkon flying down from above heaven all the way down to hell, which should be an infinite speed feat, as heaven is stated to be relative in size to the universe, the mortal universe having a multitude of statements of being infinite. Lastly, within Dragon Ball Super itself, Beerus is actually able to react fast enough to nullify the energy generated by him and Goku's clash that was going to envelop the entire universe. We actually see the explosion start to generate, and then Beerus nullifies it before it, actually spreads it out the entire universe, which of course would be an infinite speed feat in of itself. Many people may try to argue that the Dragon Ball universe cannot be infinite because Bulma references there being an edge. However, one, we actually have like real life models of the universe which reference an infinite universe, so it is provable within physics. And then we have things like Aleph numbers and hyperreal number systems which reference limits and edges to infinity within mathematics. Now in terms of abilities and hacks, you would have access to all the basic Dragon Ball techniques such as ki sense, flight, etc. And then of course he has the unique skills of his time skip. Similar to King Crimson, Hit's time skip allows him to, as the name suggests, skip time, creating a scenario where basically everyone else is frozen while he is able to move freely, for about 0.5 seconds bare minimum. Due to his incredible speeds, this is a very useful window for him as he can move pretty much anywhere in that time frame. And then of course with this technique that allows him to target and attack your vital points, it pretty much makes him a very versatile and dangerous opponent against anyone around his level. Hit incredibly also has the ability to store the time he skips to create parallel universes. When in these parallel worlds, he can see literally everything in the other world, and people can see him, but they cannot interact with him. So even if an opponent is able to outlast or predict or resist his time skip, he can of course just hide away in this parallel space where they can't interact with him. Finally, the last ability granted by his time skip allows him to basically freeze an opponent in one spot by continuously spamming time skip on only them. This ability even caught Jiren off guard and forced him to release a level of power that transcended time in order to be able to somewhat push back against the ability, but it was still clearly affecting him to an extent, showing how powerful it really was. It should be noted the reason I said 0.5 seconds bare minimum for how long he can time skip is because he has the ability to develop his time skip when faced against an opponent who requires him to do so. And even after the 0.5 second window was created, he was still able to develop his time skip even further during that same fight, so for all we know, he could actually time skip for a lot longer than this. Being a being who's existed for over 1,000 years and has likely been an assassin or a martial artist for around that amount of time, it's no shock to anyone that he has an incredible battle IQ, able to compete with characters like even Goku himself. A good showing of this incredible battle IQ was in his fight with Dispo, where Dispo was using his ears to basically hear the muscle movements he was going to make when he was about to use his time skip. And what Hit did was that he basically mimicked the exact muscle movements that he would make before he did his time skip, but not actually use a time skip in order to trick Dispo, making it confusing for him to know when he's going to use his time skip or not. Anywho, that's enough glazing from me. Let's take it back to Forka.
I mean, that's pretty much it. To conclude the entire video itself, as NTR did conclude his side, which I'm pretty sure he got into massively faster than light to infinite speed. For clarification, infinite speed is essentially just you being able to move instantaneously. Imagine you just running around and it's just a zero on speed in time. Because Hit is so much faster than Diavolo and way stronger, it's practically just a one shot. Anything that Diavolo would do against Hit just wouldn't work. And that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and peace.